Were you always brilliant from the youngest of age?
No.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
wow. That is actually a very interesting question because you see, starting from grade 1 to 7, I think at some point I was actually the last one in class.
Okay. Do you think we create the best human beings out of struggles? And as you may know it, Northwestern Province almost seems to be last in everything. If I'm
Lusaka is really a village. And this poor neighborhood, they are saying, if you spend your time in a poor neighborhood and you go to poor schools and you are being taught by poor teachers, it means your thinking is narrowed within that environment. It hasn't been easy, the challenges that life can pose, but telling you to say, even when these challenges are there, there is still hope that you can make it. That has been a living or a burning thing in my heart. And it has kept me, probably, this is the fuel that has actually seen me to become a doctor of philosophy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time you'll be watching this particular session. Welcome to the Gift Kangele podcast. We'll be having yet an awesome sit down, an awesome session with yet an amazing guest. I'm so excited to be getting to sit down with this profound guest who's been an elder brother to me, a mentor, and somebody who you could just go to seek guidance. He's been that elder brother. And I'm super excited to be getting to sit down with him in this particular session. And I'm hopeful that through this session, you're going to learn so much and just to get to understand his life journey and just give us nuggets of wisdom. So in this particular session, we have Dr. Nyambose on the session. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing. It's amazing to have you. Maybe for those that do not know you, maybe if you could just introduce yourself.
Well, that was a very powerful introduction, Mr. President. You know, just to be honored, just to be given such a chance, just to be here. You know, it's not rare. It's a rare thing in real life. So, first of all, I would like to say thank you for such an invitation. And I think as we are going to discuss, as you've already said, that we are going to discuss real issues here that affect all of us, affect a lot of young people. So I believe as we are going to discuss, we'll be able to get one or two things that will help each one of us in our lives. Now, since you wanted me to just say a little bit about myself, is that what you are?
Yes, sure, please.
All right. So, my name's Joseph Nyambose, but of course, I'm Dr. Nyambose now. So life has really been a long journey, but here we are, that we've reached this far. It hasn't been easy, but with hope and passion and hard work, all things are possible. So I believe let me just give this introduction at the moment, because you know, maybe I can go into now the detail of all things. But I think for now, let me just end from there.
Now, I understand you profoundly and I think deservedly called Dr. Nyambose, as we've come to learn of it. And I think being called a doctor is not an easy thing. It signifies a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of perseverance, because you've seen it all, if anything, with education. Now, maybe before we even get to that particular point, I would love to understand who this man is, away from being a doctor, away from maybe what the world has known. You growing up, what are your profound memories, or what do you remember about home, your upbringing, and what are some of the things that you've carried on with you to this particular day?
Well, it's a loaded question. However, I'll try to explain it in a way that probably the viewers that are watching us will be able to learn more of who I am. So basically, I trace the origin from a home of a teacher. My father is a teacher. This time around, he's a headmaster. So we grew up in an environment where, you know, teachers, where they look at education as a key. By that time, we used to be taught to say education is the key to success.
Yeah.
And actually, by the way, maybe before I talk about that, we're actually four of us in the family. And well, I don't know if I can say that I'm the only one who has reached this far. Yeah, my elder brother, he just did teaching. My sister, she got married. So basically, it has just always been, it has been in such a way that through the guidance of the parents, I've been able to go this far. But, having that background where my father really wants to see somebody who can just walk to the top through academics. And then the people that he kept, getting to be disappointed by some of them, by the decisions they made. It was something that my father really desired to have somebody. So whenever he's speaking to us, I would listen attentively. And my goal was to make my parents happy, you see. And this has been in me. Throughout even the high school, I used to really be hardworking, you see, and that gave my father hope. And it was a thing that my father made sure that, I'm provided with things like the best, like he provided the best he could, just to make sure that in my academic journey, I'm supported. And luckily, of course, I got the scholarship to come to Russia, and that's how the academic journey moved through until this far.
Were you always brilliant from the youngest of age?
No.
Okay.
Wow, that is actually a very interesting question, because you see, starting from grade 1 to 7, I think at some point I was actually the last one in class.
Okay.
Yeah, but by that time, because the headmaster, by then my father was just a teacher, but the headmaster just said, well, it is just a phase of life, but I know that your son is very smart. So, but it was through that constant mentorship. In fact, from grade 1 to 7, I wasn't smart, to be honest. Like I wasn't. People, they may think to say, oh, maybe this person has been an academic jaguar all the way. But to be honest, it hasn't been like that. The realization started when I was in grade 8.
Okay.
Yeah. In grade 8, that's when I knew to say, okay, I think this is the path. That's when I developed the desire. That's when I developed the passion. I remember when I became friends with my friend who was very smart, like a grade 8. You see, just the interactions with this friend of mine changed everything and the perception who I was. And at that time in grade 8, I started actually becoming the first position in class. It was really shocking, and my father was very surprised, you see. So from that, I picked up the trend, and I believed that, well, things can be done. Of course, it takes a lot of time for a person to develop, but luckily, things happen in that trajectory.
Is there something specific that you can recall about this particular friend that really developed this desire in you and just created this shift that you took it upon yourself to say, hey, I have to change. I have to aim for this and just be the best at anything that I find myself doing? Is there something specific?
Yeah, sure. This friend of mine, it happened we had actually a science test.
Okay.
Yeah, this science test, and by the way, I was meeting this friend for the first time.
Okay.
So it happened that we had the science test, and in class, because by then I thought, well, maybe again, I was kind of afraid, but the moment I discussed, but maybe before I go to that stage, this friend of mine, were discussing, and he used a certain terminology that I did not understand. So, it was something where I was very much interested.
You were curious.
I was curious about. So, and I saw something in him to say, these are men. You see, just by the way he expressed himself, the way he actually...
And you desired to be able to express yourself in that manner.
Exactly. So, until like it reached a point where we had this science teacher who was very strong on us, and he respected this friend of mine so much. You know, my friend was getting certain favors from a teacher. You know, if you are a brilliant kid, you know, there are certain favors as well where teachers, you know, the way they treat you. So I saw that directly from this science teacher. So I really needed to as well have these favors. And when I was talking to this friend of mine, I remember when we had the science test. The science test was very hard, but he scooped position 1. You see, I remember he got 75%, and I found myself 69%. So now I was like, you know, I wasn't pleased. I really needed to do much better. But through the interactions, like my friend, I was asking him, and maybe I have to say this. You know, in Zambia, there's this thing where at high school there's competition. Sometimes people, they don't want to reveal secrets on the way they study. You see?
Because they know you will surpass them. That's what's keeping them ahead.
Exactly. So when I was talking to this guy, asking him to say, what is the secret? Why is it that, you know, all the classes that we have, like at this school, you are on the top? So what is the secret? And he just told me to say, well, it's just to study.
Wow.
You see, so saying it's just to study
didn't mean so much.
It did not mean so much. And then I further asked him to say, then how do you study? You see, and then from there, I just said, let's just be friends. Whenever you're going to study, we go to study together. And you see, it was that friendship that we created. Even today, by the way, I can tell you, my friend of mine, he was trained in Algeria. Right now is one of the richest youths that you would desire in Zambia. I think you've seen on Facebook, like Bemanas company. Is headed by him. He started it, and he has got trucks. He has got shopping malls in Zambia. This is the guy who pursued monetary economics in Algeria, but is living that, you see. And a lot of graduates from here, they have actually gone to see him. Even Mbao, he requested the contact of him, that they meet, they discuss.
Wow, such a story.
So this guy has really been exceptional from way as low as grade 8, and today he's living that exceptional in society. So, but I learned something from him that probably changed my academic perception. And that thing that I learned from him, I think kept on burning in me until maybe we talk about being a doctor of science today.
Now, Doc, I see that quite earlier on you had identified someone in your work who you wanted to learn something from. In this particular case, being in your I think junior secondary, grade 8, you identify somebody who was at the time doing better, seemingly better than you, and approached them and wanted to learn. What is the importance of being able to identify individuals in our lives to whom we can learn certain things from, even more so approaching them and confronting them to say, look, I know I've seen you do this. How can I also be able to do something in a manner that you are doing it?
You know, an interesting thing about life, at some point I never believed in the concepts of having a mentor. You see, I had a lot of questions on that. But with time, I reached a point where that thing became a reality, where people that you can learn from, there have always been people that, like life is designed in such a way that we learn from each other. There is no such an arrangement in life where you can just become what you want to be without learning from others. See, so had it not been for this friend of mine, he was not per se as a mentor, but through the interactions and the discussions and even the questions that I asked him during that time, changed everything about me. You see, so to have somebody to learn from is a very important thing. For example, even in the university, we are learning from professors. right? We, in other words, we can call them as mentors, because these guys, they are in a better place. They have got a lot of experience. They have gone through a lot in life. And then they are in a position where they can create individuals that can become like them, or maybe create individuals that can change the entire world. And this is exactly what we're able to see. So the aspect of mentorship is very, very important. And even to this day, for example, my best mentor actually at this age has been my supervisor. I think at some point, I don't know if you've seen on my status, I even sometimes describe him to say, I want to keep the legacy, you see, because my desire is, you know, to see many students graduate in my hands and making them become great in society. You see, this is exactly what he has done in my life. It hasn't been easy, but just learning from him when he's explaining things like the challenges that life can pose, but telling you to say, even when these challenges are there, there is still hope that you can make it. That has been a living or a burning thing in my heart. And it has kept me, probably, this is the fuel that has actually seen me to become a doctor of philosophy. So it is basically, the principle doesn't change. You see, life is founded on these principles. The earlier you learn them, the better. If you learn them on a later stage, well, people, they say, some are willing to learn from this phrase, experience is the best teacher. So sometimes I don't really trust to learn through experience. It is a good thing, but sometimes this experience, by the time you are learning,
may be too late.
It may be too late.
Now, Doc, where did you spend much of your childhood? Which part of Zambia did you spend much of your childhood?
Eastern Province.
Eastern Province.
Petauke, to be precise.
Okay, I ask this question, maybe it's rather a selfish one, because in as much as I had spent time in Kafiwe, which is Lusaka, I think I spent a good part of my childhood in Northwestern Province. And as you may know it, Northwestern Province almost seems to be last in everything, if I'm not mistaken. It's almost lagging. Talk of development, talk of just many things in regards to Zambia as a nation, as a whole. So I asked specifically where you spent much of your childhood or where you were brought up, because I wanted to know, today you are Doc. Are there certain things about certain environments where we're brought up in, or is it just an aspect of people in terms of the ambitions that we have, in terms of that go-getter mentality, in terms of how we just approach life in general? Is it something to do with the environment, or is it something specific to individuals? You know, because sometimes it's surprising. You know, you ask yourself, how come as a society we seem to be the ones behind, and yet others seem to be the ones who are always doing it? Is it a question of environment, or is it a question of individuals?
Well, I think the question of environment, yes. That one is very true. You see, I don't think I would have been, or maybe I would have excelled to where I am today, had it not been coming from the house of a teacher. You see, the fact that my father is a teacher, and I was brought up in such an environment, there was a certain type of the way things were done. That somehow stood as an inspiration to me. Well, we are surrounded, it was purely in the village. You get it, right? Yeah. And I know my friends actually who are coming from villages to this day. Sadly, life has turned out not to be what it should be, you see. But why am I saying this? It's because I want to stress the point of the importance of environment. You see, the environment where you grow up plays a very important role, because one, actually, I don't know if you know this guy. What is this guy? Anyway, he talks about a poor neighborhood.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And this poor neighborhood, they are saying, if you spend your time in a poor neighborhood and you go to poor schools and you are being taught by poor teachers, it means your thinking is narrowed within that environment.
Okay.
You see, so if you happen to change the environment and you go to different environment that are not poor, you find that your perception, you will see to say you were not in the best place. You see, so the importance of the environment is very important, because it has everything to do with your attitude. It has everything to do with your dispositions, if I'm to put it in that way. It has everything to do with your sentiments that you have. Well, all these, they just make you. So, and your definition of all these, it has merged with the environment where you grow up. You can imagine, even all this time that I've spent in Russia, the fact that you, Mr. President, you're also here in Russia, there is actually the perception, the difference in the way you look at things. Probably when you were in Lusaka, you thought maybe, wow, I'm in the best place. But the moment you came to Moscow, you realized that Lusaka is really a village. You see, well, sorry to say that, but sorry to say that, but we can only hope that we develop so that things become better. But this is the reason why the environment is very important. So yes, the environment has an effect on the way we perceive things, on the way we judge things. You see, it has all. Well, when we talk about environment here, it's a broad term, right? Environment here, maybe we can give it the description of the society and the people that are there, right? And the norms, maybe how rules are being framed, and what is being deemed right, wrong, all that. So this is a broad thing that make us. So if the environment is poor and things are not done correctly, then there is no way that you can produce someone who shock the world. Sometimes it takes to leave the environment, and then you discover yourself outside that environment.
No, Doc, that's quite profound. Now, just to take you back again, I would like to know who or what Mr. Nyambose Senior is, and if there are any traits specific that you've carried from this man who I know means so much to you. Could you be able to share them with us? I think this is also probing back to your childhood, because I think most of the traits that we have, I think they come mostly from our childhood, because I think there's just something that happens in our childhood that cannot be taken away from us even in our adulthood. So I would like to understand, Mr. Nyambose Senior, anything specific that you remember about him in your childhood? What was maybe his discipline routine for you? Maybe
you know, it's quite interesting, because when I look at my father, and even his background, when he's narrating stories to us where he has been, I kind of see grace, because sometimes there are certain things that are unexplainable in this world. You see, you cannot just explain them, but all you could do is just to watch and see that things happened. So my father is the only one who is educated in their family.
Wow.
And he did not go far as where academics are concerned. You see, so by then, you remember, it was a long time, and actually he went to TTC, Chipata Teachers Training College. That's where he got his certificate as a teacher.
That was a degree of that time.
That was a degree of that time. You see that? That was a degree of that time. So, you know, things were really tough on his side as well. So he was explaining to us how, you know, things were tough at school, and the background where I was coming from, and at some point it so happened that things just happened that he almost did not finish his school, and so that is why he really desired, coming from that background, he really desired to create a change, and this change was to come from us, you see. And from time to time, by the way, he sometimes takes beer.
Okay. Okay.
So from time to time, he would call us and then tell us, the importance of education. Sometimes he does the teaching, but of course I did not. I was taught by him, by the way.
Okay.
But I did not like to be taught by him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you see, there was so much discipline in this class.
So much expectations.
And you see, always in this class, I was the focal point.
Yeah.
You see? So you see a lot of expectations from him. Yeah. But the thing is, he got so much disappointed because even in such a class, my passing grades were poor. Yeah. You see, but I remember the head teacher was there. He's the one who told him to say, no, he's still a boy, because you see, as a son of a teacher, so it was, I started like my grade 1 way back even before the normal age. Yeah. So all that was just because I was really troublesome, by the way. So the head teacher said, you know how to handle this kid. Yeah. Just take him and put him in school there.
What's a way to discipline someone?
Yeah, so in that way, he would manage me. But, the performance was not that which he really needed from me. Nevertheless, he continued to be a guiding light. Yeah. He continued to tell us the importance of education. He continued to give us the best he could in terms of books. I lacked not. Sometimes he would even give me the whole box of pens to say, these are your pens. He would give me the books because you see, there in school sometimes there are books that just come and you at home, these books were kept. So he would give me to say, all these things are given to you. That is so that just to explain to you that this is the only way that can guarantee you a future and independence.
Now, I think I relate more to your story because I'm a son of a teacher myself. So,
wow, what a coincidence!
Yeah, I'm a son of a teacher myself. So I see a lot of similarities in that because I think it seems to be a routine with teachers, we may say. Yeah. Now I couldn't help but remember, because I heard you say focal point, and I couldn't help it but think of life at focal point, a phrase which you have coined yourself. So I would like to understand what that particular phrase is all about, and also maybe to ask, do you think we create the best human beings out of struggles?
Wow. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for that question. Life at focal point. Yeah. Well, it is a phrase that has contributed so much. Okay. To my path. Like
maybe can you trace the genesis of?
Of course, absolutely, absolutely. Life at focal point. I coined it. It was actually after the graduation of my first bachelor's degree. Okay. I went home. So I started working with students. Okay. And then, there's this topic in physics, light. Yeah. You see? So on light, you are looking at lenses. Okay. And then these lenses, you are, projecting rays of light, right, on a lens. So you find that these lenses, these light, the converging lens, is able to direct these rays to a certain point. Yeah. Now, at this point, you find that this is the point of focus, right? The point. So what that means is I have a goal to achieve. And this goal is at a distance. You see? Yeah. So I'm looking at myself as basically a ray of light. And I'm going to that goal. Okay. You see?
Yeah.
And the thing is, in between here, there are a lot of factors.
Obstacles.
Obstacles.
Challenges. Struggles.
In between
enemies.
Here, you see, enemies.
Yeah.
Like, they are just here. But I'm able to see the point.
Yeah.
So basically, it's not only obstacles as well.
Yeah.
There are as well good things here. People that are on your side. People that encourage you, your mentors and all that. So all that is bringing the point that it kept me on the focus. You see, just looking at the goal, where do I want to see myself? So that is why when I say life at focal point, I'm just talking about, you know, there must be a goal in which you yourself, you must view it and try by all means to
get there.
You see, it should take you. You see, people should not understand everything, but it should take you.
Should take you to get there.
Exactly. You see, so that is life at focal point.
Wow. Life at focal point. such an interesting concept, you know? Such an interesting concept. And I think that it's important to have such phrases for ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's important to...
You know, at some point I even coined, like my cousins, sometimes we do talk to say, but when you were young, you know, you would say all these things. Sometimes I had as well this born poor but rich in mind. You see, all these phrases. Whenever I'm in school, you just say, well, I did not choose to be born. I was born poor, yes. But I'm rich in mind.
Okay.
You see. So
now, you know, some people would say, no, those are just feel-good phrases. You are comforting yourself in those particular phrases. What would you say to that?
Well, it depends who says that.
Okay.
Even when they say that, how do they actualize that in their lives? Because, of course, talk is cheap. People can just say phrases. But the impact of those phrases in their lives, it takes a grip of faith. You see, a grip of faith and confidence to have those phrases being actualized in our lives.
Okay.
So for me, this phrase, I believed it. You see, I believed it in the way it is being expressed. So I was born poor, but my mind is not poor.
It's rich.
See, it's rich.
Yeah.
So I can change these things. Life at focal point really guided me. You know, I loved to teach this topic light. You see, whenever I'm teaching something with my students, I always try to view every topic outside the topic, or maybe in the realistic point of view. And then probably from there, I can create my own theory. And you see, this theory will guide me through. People may not understand it, you see, but the fact that I have a view of it myself, and I clearly have an understanding what it means in my own life, I make use of that, and that is exactly what some of these things, like what has been achieved, it has been achieved by all these theories that we've created by ourselves. And I believe it's very important, actually, if one can create these phrases, not just copying paste. We're talking about creating your own thing. As you try to take your mind, you throw your mind into imagination, and then you come up with that. That becomes your unique source of strength.
Okay.
So I would encourage some people, if they can, it worked for me, probably it would work for them.
Okay, I've heard you talk about mentors. I think we'll get to that.
Yes.
But I would like to understand, what was your interaction with elders, you as a child? What was your relation with older people like at the time when you were younger?
And
was it that good? Was it bad? Do you have...
I think if there is one thing that I do appreciate about my father was the installation of values in us. You see, respecting everybody regardless of their background. Okay. Now here we're talking about the elders. There was a certain point that I wasn't kept by my father. The teacher, a new teacher that came to the school, you know, through the interactions and all that, came and requested my father that I want to stay with your boy because he was a single male teacher.
Wow, how good were you as a child? That somebody, that a stranger would request to get you in their house, to house you in there.
Exactly.
How good were you as a child?
Interestingly, this happened even at lower grades, you see. Yeah. And even when I went to grade 9, 8, 9, I found myself in the hands of teachers.
Okay.
You see, there is a hostel, but me, I was picked and I was staying with this teacher who decided to just have me just to stay with him, cooking and all that. In other words, well, it all stems from the values that I'm talking about, where you consider elderly people as the source of strength and as a source of wisdom. Yeah. You see, because like I did mention earlier on, they have been there. They have walked through a lot of experience. And to me, what was so fascinating, these were teachers. So I was like, these are superior sources of knowledge. So how good it is to be with them. You see, so whenever, by that time when I was taken at their place, you know, I would engage in a lot of conversation with them. You see, to learn more. How did they achieve? Like, how do I do certain things? You get it, right? And all these mentorship that came from strangers, who at some point, they never knew my father. But I found in their hands, also contributed to who Dr. Nyambose is today. You see, so elders are very important because we should view them as mentors. Well, I know that not all elders are well standing.
In Bembe they say Bambiaba Kurumasaka. Now, what was it? What's the specific thing? You know, what was this? What was this specific thing in you that made elder people identify you and take it upon themselves to take you up and maybe even impart you with this knowledge, with this wisdom? Was there something specific, maybe in your conduct, in the way that you related with them, that made them voluntarily just pick you up? Absolutely.
I think, you see, as a child is growing, there is Cobex talks about something interesting on the part of reasoning. He talks about pre-conversional reasoning, conversional reasoning, and the post-conversional reasoning. Okay. So when you talk about pre-conversional reasoning, it's a type of reasoning where all people at this level, they are controlled by the external. So in other words, the external, what I mean, it is the issue of consequence. Like, if I do this, you see, what will be the repercussion? If I do this, there is nothing much as per se the individuality aspect. Now, why am I saying this, tying to your question? I think what they valued in me was the aspect of obedience. You see, right? Yeah. Because by that time I was very young. There are certain questions that I could not ask. But that is why there are such expressions in the Bible to say obedience is better than sacrifice. You see? So the fact that I learned that, and coupled with respect, to say when elderly people speak, and these teachers, they saw it in me, you see, and that is why, even when, do you know that even when I stayed with them, when I passed my grade 8, the teacher I was with, he did not want to let me go. Wow. You see, because, well, we really lived in harmony. He trusted me even with huge sums of money, you see. And he had all the trust. Sometimes he would just send me maybe to buy things. He would go sometimes and leave me at home. But he would be very much sure that everything will be in place, you see. And later I even told my father to say, I don't even know how, like what you did to train your children to grow up in that way. My uncle also told my father. You see, my uncle, like when I finished my bachelor's degree, right? I stayed with my uncle in Lusaka, you see. And when I was staying with my uncle, he thought maybe I would behave otherwise. The fact that I have a degree, that some people, they go, exactly. I obeyed his command. He said everybody here should be at home by 18. I never disobeyed, not even a single day. You see. So it was in that myself, I did not know that my father is the one actually who told me to say, your uncle called me. And you see, he was asking me to say, how did you train that child? He's just unique. I don't just know like how you trained him. You see. So my father was telling me all that. So in other words, the point that I'm trying to say is we can learn a lot from elderly people. If we decide to. The issue of obedience is very important. I'm not talking about obeying things that are wrong. No. We should also have the mind to question things. But if things are good, let's obey.
No, I see a lot of similarities in your life journey. And I should say, I'm tempted to say I see myself walking your path. because I see a lot of similar things in your life journey with mine. Because I think I'm also one person who's been taken up by older people, who's been taken up by older people. Because if there's anything, I think most of anything that I've achieved, I can attribute it to older people. And I think my younger friends always ask me, how is it that you seem not to be having the challenges that we are having? And I attribute it to older people because I think if you are able to just stay young, older people are able to see it and take it upon themselves to say, I want this boy to end up like this. I want this boy to succeed. I don't want this boy to make the mistakes that I made. I don't want this boy to make the mistakes that other people are making. And they just take it upon themselves to ensure that they nurture you and they guide you. And I would like to point it back to secondary school, where you would find that others would be let alone to do whatever that they want to do. But there were just specific pupils that would never just be allowed to do anything that they wanted. The moment they see you playing, you've started losing your way. The moment they see you making noise, stop making noise. The moment they saw them doing what? No, you shouldn't do this. But then there are these other students, it's as though they have just been let loose to say, hey, you can do whatever you want. But these specific students, there's something that we want them to achieve. So I want to ask, do you think there's something that others get to do wrong along the way? Or maybe elders just get to decide to say, okay, I'm going to nurture this one, this one, this one. Because I also think sometimes, even in families, it turns out that way. That just some kids, I don't know, they've just been let alone. Maybe there's a curfew at home, others, they can come whatever they want and parents show less concern. But they're just some kids who would never just be allowed to get away with anything. Do you think there's something that they get to do wrong? Or maybe it's the decision of the older people to decide who they nurture? Well,
I don't think it's the decision of the elderly people to choose who to nurture. Because in the first place, it is the core of elderly people to see that kids, all of them, they grow up in a way that is responsible, right?
Yeah.
So, but you find that you may have the kids and the traits and the characteristics of the kids, there's variation, you see? That is why somebody said, success is predictable. There's so much truth in that.
Okay.
You see? Why? The way a kid, you may have a lot of kids here, but you'll be able to see how certain kids will be able to do their things. And you can even tell to say, this one is a problem. This one is not a problem. So from there, you find that this one who is not a problem may get to be trusted to a certain angle, to handle certain responsibilities. But this one if a parent sees this one, probably they may provide so much care to this one. If you are a well-meaning parent, you see your kid, this one, you know, is lagging behind. They will put so much care on this one to try to see how they can reform. But you see, there's the part where a kid has to play kind of a role, and this role, at that point, it may not be as per se much of reasoning, but the role it has to do much with obedience. You see, taking a recognition to say, when elderly people speak like that, this could be the consequence if I don't listen. Because that is a phase of life. We can never say that, you know, when we're growing up, we're able to reason by ourselves. No. You see, sometimes it was just necessary at some point just to obey. Because these are elderly people that are just telling you to say, if you go this route, there's a problem there. You don't necessarily have to question to say, is there a problem really? You see, that point, it wasn't fully matured in us until a certain age. You see, but kids that would not obey that simple statement, they will find themselves in problems. So you find that there's a part that kids also have to play, and that is what get them to be classified as maybe their own fulfilled prophecy in terms of their destiny. You see, but had they took time to just obey at some point, as you know, life is in phases, like I told you, right? You see, like the pre-conventional reasoning, guided by the external. And this external, we can put them in form of our parents. You see, external power, like you're told, parents, they're standing there. So I don't think there is that part where elderly people choose to say this one we got, this one not. I think that would be a very bad type of leadership, if I'm to put it in that way.
Now, Doc, we'll get into a section which I call morality trivia. Now, I would just urge you to be careful with the questions, because they may seem quite basic, but they have so many layers to them.
Oh, I see.
They may seem quite basic, but they have so many layers to them. Now, you are a doctor of biological sciences.
Yes.
And I think I'll tell her the question to that lining. Now, the question is it ethical to engage in genetic engineering to enhance human capabilities?
Well, well, genetic engineering, by the way, when I was doing my master's degree in biotech, it was the topic of discussion that we're discussing. But you see, the genetic engineering we're talking about here, it was in relation to plants.
Okay.
Now, maybe I'll just give a brief background as to why we're talking about genetic engineering in relation to plants. The background was, one, to enhance the quality of the crops. You get it, right? So you find that you remove a certain gene and then you put a certain gene trait that has got certain influence on the state of the crop. And maybe, for example, if crops, they have got problems to adapt to maybe drought changes, maybe that gene will give it like some sort of power, like to be able to adapt to such environment. Now, it was done just to give like an advantage to a crop. And as well, even the quality. Now, all this genetic engineering came as a result of there is a scarcity in food. So if we don't dive through science, you'll find that we'll not be able to produce more. So through genetic engineering, we can produce more and we can save a lot of people. Now, coming to your question, is it ethical when we try to move that to humans? The question first is, we must ask to say, what is the purpose of doing that? I think if we can try to answer that question, what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? You see, if it is something that we can all argue and maybe create a common denominator that we are going to see humans becoming better, why not? You see, but if it is something where people are just doing experiments, doing the trial and error, then I tend to argue that it's not ethical. You see, so the question lies in what we want to achieve at the end of the goal. So as for now, as much as I understand about this genetic engineering, there's a lot of debate because it's being shifted on humans. You see, so the fact that it's being shifted on humans, there's a lot of debate, and a lot of people at the moment, they are standing on the side that it's not ethical to move, like to go, like to completely make changes to human species by that means. You see, let me just say something. There's this disease. It's called the Stargardt disease. They use stem cells.
Okay.
Now, maybe I have to explain something. Stem cells are basically these cells that are sources of other cells. These stem cells, they are placed in your body and they can generate new cells.
New cells.
You get it, right?
Okay.
So there has been people that have been sick. Maybe you see like the eye and the retina of the eye. You see, it's the part where maybe light rays, they get to fall and then before they are transmitted to the brain. So people that have been born blind by genetics, it has been like the concept that we can get stem cells from the embryo. You see, like you just have the embryo and then you decide to kill the embryo. You get these stem cells from the retina of the embryo and then you transfer, you genetically engineer this retina into the eye of this blind person and you remove that part, right? So you find that this retina now, this person becomes better and is able to see properly because that retina which has been transplanted is able to function as a normal retina. But now the question that has been there is you have to kill the zygote. You know, it should take a human being, people, to have the embryo, and then from there you get, and then you save this. So the question is, why are you killing this? So there are certain countries like in the UK, there's a lot of debate. Only to special conditions can they allow that to happen because it's not ethical. In the US, I don't know. US, you know, is the place where everything happens. But it was interesting when I was reading to say these stem cells, like this type of arrangement, is not accepted at all because it's not ethical. So for now, I think I would stand that what are we trying to achieve at the end of a goal, at the end of a day? And if what we're trying to achieve is good for humanity, why not? But if we're just doing experiments just for excitement, I would say it's not ethical.
Now, Doc, as we wind up our discussion, like you've talked about all those moderation and all those alterations to a human species. Now we even know that losing a leg shouldn't be a problem, as you can have it replaced. Almost all diseases are becoming curable now. Almost, you know, you can't really have a disability per se because there's some sort of engineering that can be done and all those operations and sophisticated things. Now I would want to ask, what makes up a human being? What really makes up the individual? Because if we are talking about a situation where you are able to change the heart, I should think that at some point in human development, we believed that a human being is the heart. But now we know we can change your heart. Maybe at some point we believed the human being is the brain. But now we know they can almost change your brain. So now what makes up a human being? Such that even if these changes are to be done to you, we'll still say, this is Joseph Nyambose. This is not a new person. This is not a human being. Maybe what makes up a human being? That at the end of the day, whatever changes that happen, you would still be the person that we've interacted with. Because the fear is, okay, you are blind, we do all that engineering, you begin to see. Maybe the vision is no longer yours, it's somebody else. Okay, you have this problem, we do all that engineering. And maybe that beats the question. What makes up a human being in your own understanding or in your own definition? What makes up a human being?
Well, a human being, well, we cannot run away from the fundamentals, because from the fundamentals, we'll be able to learn of the complexity. So when we talk about the human being, we can still be traced to the beginning of things, right? Where God does the creation, and then we are told to say, when this happened, man became a living soul. And then we have a human being being made, right? But you see, in that state, human being was given a lot of potential, which this potential has been realized to this day. You get it, right?
Yeah.
It has been kept in secret for years. But through the means of technology, this potential has been realized. You see? But this potential, the negative side of it, we have abused it. You see, it has been revealed really for the good, but we've abused it. You see, and the abuse that I'm talking about here, I can tie it actually to the part of certain things that are being done through means of genetic engineering. Now, I'm not saying per se that genetic engineering is bad per se, because there is what we call gene therapy now, where if truly you are sick and you really need help, you see, we can make a gene transplant to help you survive. That type of technology, we should embrace it, because we want to help people getting well from their sicknesses. You see, but there's a type of genetic engineering which runs away from the norms of life on which life is founded. It's more like we're trying to experiment God, and we want to reach a point to say He's not there. You see, so well, in as much as these they can be fun, I'm not saying we should stop experimenting, but as we do these things, we should always have the question that what we want to achieve. Coming to a human being, my understanding is the human being is what the Creator designed humans to be. And I don't think we can try to replace that definition with the other. In as much as we can try to replace that definition, our definition will lack originality. You see, so the fact that it will lack originality will not be saying the truth. You get it, right? Because the original will still remain. It's more like when I'm teaching my students, when we talk about DNA, it's one of the part that I love most, especially when you talk about molecular biology, DNA part. I always ask people to say, okay, why is it that people, if they want to know that, oh, this is your father, they have to check the DNA. Because the DNA is a reservoir of information. And from generations, from Adam to where we are today, it has been, the transmission of information has been expressed through just this complex molecule called the DNA. So I was explaining to them, like, there's this topic, which of course students, they don't find it because it's hard.
Doc, before to avoid getting technical here, I would love us to wrap up this conversation in rather this manner.
Sure.
Now, Doc, you are a scientist.
Yes.
But at the same time, you are a religious person.
Absolutely.
How do those things mix?
All right. Since you're talking about the time, let me just try to marry the two.
Yeah.
How do those things mix?
Yes.
If you understand the science, you learn more of the things that are beyond.
Which one should be first? To understand the science or to approach the Bible or the religion? Let's put it that way.
I think if you begin to approach the religion, you
may have questions.
You may have questions, yeah. You may have questions, but if you happen not to have questions, you may go by the say just obey, and it
by faith.
Yeah, by faith. It may not be good, but the science way. If you really go deep in science, you'll find that you learn some patterns that are just unique. Scientists, they have not been able to explain this. For example, I'll just tell you to say, science research has shown that we only know 3% of the DNA. And 97% of the DNA is a mystery. You see? So when you look at all those things, and we have really fine minds in the entire world, and papers are written to say we only know the 3%. Now, that's where questions begin to pop up to say, there must be beyond. Well, we will not close our mind because we are still living. People maybe may discover some more, but the more you try to learn all this science and the discoveries that are made, the more you'll be able to see the order, and the more you'll be able to see the design, the more you'll be able to believe that there must be a designer in this.
But how far should you go with science for you to be able to want to know the designer? How far should you go? Because I'm religious as well. I'll put it that way. So we don't want a situation where people go their entire life searching into science before they are pushed to the aspect of religion.
I think...
How far should one go in religion, in science, for them to bring in that of religion?
I think it only requires like you don't need to reach to a level of a PhD for you to. I think that will not be correct. It just requires a curious mind, because when we talk about science, science is basically a study that requires a curious mind to question things and get on the ground to search for answers. And in the process of searching answers, you'll be able to find these dots. So even as a bachelor's degree, or I don't know, maybe at university you can begin to, but the thing is, are you curious? Curiosity is the hardest thing that is lacking in a lot of people. Because the moment you're curious, it means you're motivated. You see, then it means you have your own fuel to get on things and get things done. So if that lacks, it's a problem. You don't need to get to the PhD. Then on the part of where you said, we cannot let people go through the route of science and all that, religion. Well, the Bible as well, if you go the route of the Bible, it is as well okay. Because the Bible, it says, God, he who comes to God must know that he exists and is a rewarder of all those that obey, right? That do good, right? Yeah, he's a rewarder. In that statement, it calls you to faith. So to believe is not also a problem. Because to believe with a conscious mind is not also a problem. Because what is tying me to God is surely faith. I cannot say that I've studied God and I know him. That one need to be a lie. You see? But I'm always curious to question certain things, to learn more who God is. You see? And this curiosity can never end. It only stops when a person dies. You see? So if we discover new truths, if new truths have been revealed to say, well, God is not there, and we see truly that this is the evidence, why not taking that route? You see? But as for now, I think God is real. Yeah, I've got no doubts about it based on the information that I know now. Have I closed my mind to not search? No. My mind is still open to discussion, to learn more. Yeah, so
I think that's a message to atheists if you would want to prove to him otherwise. But Doc, I wouldn't want to hold you for long. I appreciate you sparing your time to be able to make it to the show. Maybe last question. What would be your message to individuals that would set them on a trajectory of success in your own definition? Yeah, or what you would regard as the true satisfaction for human life, or what would be your message to them?
Thank you very much. You know, it's actually sad that we are coming to an end of this discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
However, I think I'll end by saying that, you know, success has got so many definitions, and these definitions, they are real to an individual, because you cannot generalize. The way I define success, I cannot generalize to say this is the blueprint that you have to follow, right? But however, even as we have the diverse definitions of this success, there are certain principles that are coherent in it. So what are these principles? I think wherever you want to go, I read on social media where saying there is no substitute for hard work. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how you define your success, and if you have well-framed goals, objectives, I think there is no substitute for hard work. You must be able to understand this principle very much. I know that people have attempted to get rid of it by saying work smart. Well, work smart is good also. It's very good, you see? But work smart, it means you are just using some means of technologies, right, that are flexible to get you to your goals. But at the end of the day, you have to be committed to this work smart. So that also becomes like a commitment, like hard work. You get it, right?
Yeah.
So there is no substitute for hard work. And the other thing is, it can never be overstated, like discipline. Let's try to talk about discipline. It's a thing that is unique, it's a virtue, and you know, to have it, then I think you are good to make it. Because within the boundaries of discipline, there is a lot that you can explore, and you can definitely see the realization of your dreams. Like I told you, I think I wrote on Facebook when I was saying, on the path of a PhD, there were a lot of things. But you see, not everyone wants to do a PhD. And I can't say that everybody should pursue a PhD. You know, PhD is not for everyone. And I can't measure success by you know, getting the PhD. You get it, right? But this level of education mattered so much to me. You get it, right? And it's not easy. Like I even shared on Facebook to say, especially in Russia, 90% drop out. Only 10% people defend their PhD thesis. So you can tell how much hard work you want, and how much commitment you need, and how much discipline you want. So in ending, I would just say there are certain principles in life that we should never compromise, especially when we talk about success. If we compromise these principles, then we would have used the shortcuts. And the shortcuts also, they have got their own way to backfire, which I don't know why small minds think that the shortcut is the best way to do to get to certain things. I don't know. I think that is thinking very shallow, you see, because there is no such a thing. Even the salvation we're being talked about here, there is no shortcut. So the whole nature, there are laws that are consistent that does not guarantee shortcuts. You try to use shortcut, there is that law that will fight you to say, you've gone not within the means. You see, so I think we should learn to enjoy the challenges, hard work, because these challenges define us, they make us better, they make us actually to well fit in society. Because at this age and time, my worry or my role in society, if I'm to be asked in that question, is to help others. You get it, right?
Yeah.
Because PhD, you solve problems, global problems. You don't solve a narrow problem. So you are trying to find solution to the global
community.
Yeah. And that is exactly why I got this paper, and I want to be a solution to some of the challenges that the global community is. Yeah. And each one of us, we should strive to this trajectory that we become solutions to the problems that humanity itself. To get that, it requires denying yourself and pick up the cross and walk the path. Discipline, goal-oriented, all things can be achieved.
No, Doc, it's been a pleasure. I wouldn't want to override your words, but it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President. It was really a pleasure. It has been a pleasure as well to discuss this. Yeah.
No, to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, it's been the Gift Kangele podcast. See you.
See you. Thank you.